showtime.
It's showtime. And here we go.
Welcome into another edition of the Movie Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is my review of Ballerina from the world of John Wick. And as a huge John Wick fan of all four movies, expect violence and not a whole lot of speaking. John Wick really doesn't speak, mostly in his films. Um, he just shoots and kills and gets lots of guns. That is what we love about it, especially the third one, Parabellum, when pretty much the entire New York City was looking for him, and then everyone across the world was looking for him. And then 4, same thing. Now he's going after the head of the table, and the climactic scene on the top. But when he gets knocked down there's a million stairs all the way down, still gets up and is able to get up the stairs to have that duel. Does he actually die? Is there going to be another John Wick film? That is a possibility. We never really saw him die. We only saw a headstone at the end, and Winston standing there. Again, Winston could have been playing it off that, he died, but he really just went away. Or he could be really dead. We'll see in time. But Keanu Reeves comes back as John Wick in this film. Now, there was some conjecture over Ballerina when it got delayed from last year. It was supposed to be last year and it got moved to this. I think what they wound up doing was they brought back John Wick a little bit more into the story than they wanted to. They wanted to kind of give him a guest role, but I think they went back and did some reshoots to make sure that we could understand Ballerina's character a little bit more. Because from the trailer, we only see her visually seeing him walking down the stairs with the director, played by Angelica Houston, and talking about how safe passage and so on and so forth. And then in one of the later ones, we see her interact with him as far as, how do I get out of here? How do I go and do what you do? So there is that possibility that they went back and kind of said, okay, you know what, maybe we should put him in there, give him some speaking lines. I jokingly said to Ashley, he probably has more speaking lines probably in this film than he probably did in all of 4. So anyway, we're going to talk about Ballerina. So Eve, we see her backstory at first. We see her as a young girl. I want to say maybe 9 or 10, maybe even younger, but probably in that 9 to 10 range. Or whatever. Her father wants her to have a life outside of his world, which he is an assassin as well. And he's looking to get out just like John Wick was in that second film. And, he wanted a different life for her. She talks about, her sister, dying. Well, her father is like, yeah, it's sad and tragic, and, you'll be just fine. I'm going to give you the life that you deserve. And of course, it's usually the famous last lines of somebody who's about to die. So, some armed intruders come in. He is just a badass trying to save his daughter until he is finally brought down by these guys, and in comes a man named the Chancellor, played by Gabriel Byrne. Uh, he's a really good actor. Tells him that all he wants is the girl. Why would you have taken her from us? So clearly, Winston, has his thing with John Wick. The Chancellor has his with Eve's dad. He says you have to make a choice. Either you both die or you shoot yourself in the head and then she lives. And that's when he gets all John Wicky and he goes berserk. And finally he's brought down, kind of trapped underneath, and that's when Eve comes out from where she was hiding from and shoots the guy in the head. And she's obviously rattled. She's holding a ballerina, like a tchotchke in her hand. And so the dad starts to tell her, "Look, we need to get out of here, and let's go." So he is setting a bomb off, and he has to try to get out, but he is fatally wounded. The house explodes. He winds up down at the marina. The boats are missing, so he can't get her to safety, and he tells her, "I love you," and so on. The next scene is her sitting, with blood on her face, blood on the tchotchke that has the ballerina inside. When Winston comes in, Ian McShane, and tells her that she's going to have a life, and I'm going to take you to somebody who's going to be able to do that. When we see the director again, Angelica Houston, and this is where she has to make a choice, because the director is not only training ballerinas, but she's training killers or assassins. So the next thing we know, we're jumping to 12 years into the future. She is on stage doing her ballerina act, and she's falling everywhere. She's having a hard time. Her feet are bleeding. And finally, the director says, "Do you want to continue?" And she's like, "Yes." "Well, good. Leave." So she does. She leaves the stage and goes upstairs to where the rest of them are. And then she goes for combat training and is just getting overpowered by the men. And you're like, man, she's going to have to toughen up. And they tell her, he's, why are you having problems? And she's like, well, he's too strong. And they're like, no, you got to fight like a girl. You have to outthink him. And so eventually she gets better at it, and she becomes really badass. And again, I really think that she had committed to this role, and she really did a really good job with it. So eventually, we see John Wick. They have a conversation, and she's like, "I want to do what you do." And he says, "I think you already have." So now she goes out and she does some jobs, and she's pretty badass. The first one is kind of where you see the trailer where she walks into the nightclub and whatnot. But she's given rubber bullets, and I was thinking to myself, is this kind of some kind of training mission, or is she really on a mission? Because all she has is rubber bullets. It's not going to stop. It's not going to kill anyone. If she's supposed to try to protect, the asset. So, what is this? You're kind of like in that weird guessing game, because Ashley and I were like, are we watching, a training seminar? So she starts to, shoot the, rubber bullets, and it's, they've got stopping power because she's literally point blank, not trying to kill somebody from across the room. So you're like, okay. And then people aren't leaving the dance floor, and they're really not leaving the nightclub. So again, you're thinking, okay, maybe this was a training drill. Until she goes upstairs, grabs an ice pick, and winds up killing the leader of this group. And you're like, okay, so she actually did it. She actually killed, even though she was given rubber freaking bullets. Uh, and then, that's got her jump started. And then she found out that they had the same symbol on their arm that killed her father. So she starts asking around. She asks, the director, what is this symbol? Why am I seeing this symbol? And she's like, just drop it. It is a part of the Klan. And you're like, okay, so there's good assassins and then there's bad assassins, or so for me it kind of doesn't work that well. Like I'm like, okay, so you have a Klan, and then you have you know the Continental people, and it's like, all right, let's get through this basically. So eventually she goes to Winston at the Continental. He is sworn to secrecy that he can't talk about the truce or uh, subsequent rules between the two. But then, she invokes the coin thing, and he kind of gives her some information. So she has to go and track down Daniel Pike, who is played by Norman Reedus. She's not there to kill him. She just wants to get information. Well, the lobby is full of assassins who are, trying to get the bounty on his head. He hasn't come out of his room. It's at $2 million. When she gets up to the room, it's $4 million. And now everyone in the lobby starts to head upstairs. There is this one woman that is kind of like the ringleader kind of thing, and she is the one that ups the bounty on Pike, and now it's John Wick all over again. Guns, shootouts. She's got she winds up uh, killing a bunch of people, and she tries to keep uh, Daniel's daughter alive because the Klan wants the girl. She's a young girl. Um, they want her to go with them to train, and so on, or so we're allowed to believe. So you've got all that going on. So there's a lot of convoluted stuff in here, because then in the next one she is sent home instead of killed, because she could have easily been killed, and that would have probably stopped the whole movie in itself. So she winds up finding out a little bit more about the Klan when she goes to a armory, and she asks if the guy knows the symbol people, and he's like, no, I only deal with Continentals. And so she's loading up like John Wick, and the Klan group comes in, and she's using grenades. It's just it's so crazy. There is that one scene in the trailer where she takes the pin out and then closes the steel door, and the guy just blows up. Um, well, it also blew out the wall behind. She walks through it, and then some guy comes through. She's ran out of bullets. She has the um, grenade holder. She winds up putting one in his mouth, flipping a table over, and then he just explodes. And you're like, whoa, that is pretty sick. Like, that is pretty innovative, and so on. And then obviously now she's on the search for uh, the Chancellor, and all hell breaks loose. Basically, he lives in a town full of assassins, and it's one on, I don't know, take your pick, 40, 50 people, and uh, you know, as she's getting closer to the Chancellor, he makes a phone call to the director and tells her to call her off, or he's going to send his people in to take out the director and her ballerinas. She's like, well, she's not a part of us, she's gone rogue. And he's like, well, I don't care if it's not done by midnight or she's not stopped by midnight. War is going to start. So that's when the director calls in a favor to John Wick. John Wick goes and finds her in the middle of the war zone. They allow him free passage. He tells her to stop and go home. And he tells her the consequences of not going home. And she's like, well, you've been sent here to kill me. And he's like, well, that's your choice. You can go home, or it could end with you dying. So they start fighting. And she's like, I want to end this. I want him to die. He killed my father. And he's like, I know. But again, there are consequences, and there will be lots of consequences if you don't kill him, if you really want to go forward. He's like, you got 28 minutes. So 28 minutes is just an eternity in this movie. There is an entire fight with flamethrowers in this. It is so cool, but at the same time, you're like, wow, like, who thought of this? It's pretty crazy. We're not even using guns. We're using flame friggin' throwers. And then obviously in the trailer, you see her with the water cannon. And that was a pretty cool scene. But, she winds up taking out, almost the entire village. And then she gets some help from John Wick as we are getting closer to the midnight, because she's getting so close, and he wants to see how it ends. But he also has orders: if it becomes midnight, she would die. So we got some John Wick action in there too, and I'm glad it was only for a little bit, because then it would have probably just ruined the rest of the movie, because we wanted to focus on Ballerina, but now we got John Wick, fighting alongside of her. Technically, alongside of her. He is just trying to defend himself in this regard. He's not really helping her, but at the same time, he's also not trying to die either. So eventually, she gets her chance with the Chancellor, but she knows the time is running out, and in the middle of his, soliloquy, she jams him in the head a couple times with bullets, and that's it. She takes the kid with her, and that's how the story ends. Now, a little backtrack. So the kids, well, Eve was the granddaughter of the Chancellor. She didn't know that ahead of time, but her sister, Lena, played by Catalina Moreno, is the woman that let her go a couple times, then finds out that her sister actually survives because she was told that she was dead too. So there's the little reunion thing, and then of course Lena dies relatively quick, and you're like, all right, well, there's a storyline that we're just tossing there really quickly, and then the Chancellor says kill them both, and she dies right away. Um, so there's a lot of throwaway scenes in this movie. So uh, it's so for what it is in the world of John Wick, it is actually uh, pretty decent. The action scenes in this film are very unique. Again, grenades. You see just exploding bodies. Every time she puts one in somebody's mouth, the head and body explode. Um, it is unique. The flamethrower one. The story itself is kind of like an afterthought kind of thing at times, where she's after the Chancellor. The Chancellor is well protected, but at the same time, you know, she's able to John Wick her way through almost an entire village of assassins. So, again, for the world of John Wick, this movie works, and she survives, and we may see her again down the road. Maybe a sequel, or maybe if they do John Wick 5, or one of the other spin-offs. Kane is going to get one. I think they said 2026, maybe even 2027. Kane was the master assassin, the blind assassin in the fourth one. So you have that dynamic as well. Like maybe they'll team up or whatever. Again, I think her performance was strong. I think the story itself was somewhat weak. Um, Dueling clans, dueling assassin clans. Just I think they could have probably come up with a better idea for it. They put the backstory in there, for her vengeance. Then let's pay it off with a little bit more storytelling. And they kind of, again, just throw in the fact that, oh, this is your sister. And then 5 minutes later, she's dead. And now you have to revenge her. So there's a lot in there. And then throw in John Wick, and you've got a little bit more John Wick than Ballerina. So if you're a John Wick fan, you're definitely going to say, I love this movie. If you're not a John Wick fan and you wanted to see a different take and see how Ballerina worked out, you're probably not going to like this film because of the story. And the story just isn't there. I know what they were trying to do, but again, when you have little side stories that just kind of get tossed away, at least the action carries the movie through. And again, some of the unique kills and fights save this movie overall. The audience score kind of goes along with me. I kind of looked it up just briefly before I went on because I saw an article that said, this movie doesn't live up to John Wick, and I wanted to see what. And because, again, the story, again, seeing it, the story just isn't meshable. But I honestly think that if we see her again with a better story, I think people will love Eve as the ballerina. So if you did see this weekend, I want to know your take on it, and I will go and see it again with my son George. I went to see it with Ashley today, but I am actually looking forward to seeing his reaction to it. before he watches the podcast here. So, all right. So I have a few more reviews to do this week. I'll put some shorts up, and I do have a guest that came and did a podcast, so I'm going to have him on this week as well. So a lot of stuff, guys. Go and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that like, share. Go back and share the one on Bryce Dallas Howard. Come on, let's go. What are we waiting for? All right. That is all. I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.